Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Bible Study Live with Connie and friends. We're coming to you a little late tonight. I had a meeting that ran over, so I apologize for being late, and I missed you last week. I was traveling. So we are continuing our December study on the best gifts in the Bible, the best gifts in the Bible. And tonight, what we're reading is 1 Kings chapter 10. I always remember being kind of amazed at these gifts that they talk about in 1 Kings chapter 10. And I wanted to study a little bit about the Queen of Sheba. So we're going to read about her and the gifts that she brought over to Solomon. And then just all of the gifts that he had. It's just amazing when you read about it. So go to 1 Kings chapter 10, which says, when the Queen of Sheba heard about the fame of Solomon and his relationship to the Lord, she came to test Solomon with hard questions. Arriving at Jerusalem with a very great caravan, with camels carrying spices, large quantities of gold, and precious stones, she came to Solomon and talked with him about let's see, all that she had on her mind. Solomon answered all her questions. Nothing was too hard for the king to explain to her. When the Queen of Sheba saw all the wisdom of Solomon and the palace he had built, the food on his table, the seating of his officials, the attending servants in their robes, his cupbearers, and the burnt offerings he made at the temple of the Lord, she was overwhelmed. Little song playing in the background. She said to the king, the report I heard in my own country about your achievements and your wisdom is true. But I did not believe these things until I came and saw with my own eyes. Indeed, not even half was told me. Oh, there's one of my sisters. Let me pin myself. Okay. Hello, sister. Not even half was told me. In wisdom and wealth, you have far exceeded the report I heard. How happy your people must be. How happy your officials who continually stand before you and hear your wisdom. Praise be to the Lord your God, who has delighted in you and placed you on the throne of Israel. Because of the Lord's eternal love for Israel, he has made you king to maintain justice and righteousness. And then listen to this gift, you guys, that the Queen of Sheba gives to Solomon. And she gave the king 120 talents of gold. And it says that is about 4.5 tons or 4 metric tons, large quantities of spices and precious stones. Never again were so many spices brought in as those the Queen of Sheba gave to King Solomon. Hiram's ships brought gold from Ophir, and from there they brought great cargoes of almug wood and precious stones. Almug wood, it says, is probably a variant of algum wood. Okay, and precious stones. The king used the almug wood to make supports for the temple of the Lord and for the royal palace, and to make harps and lyres for the musicians. So much almug wood has never been imported or seen since that day. King Solomon gave the Queen of Sheba all she desired and asked for, besides what he had given her out of his royal bounty. Then she left and returned with her retinue, don't often hear that word, with her retinue to her own country. The weight of the gold that Solomon received yearly was 666 talents, which is about 25 tons or 23 metric tons. So he received his gifts, apparently, gold, 25 tons of gold a year. not including the revenues from merchants and traders and from all the Arabian kings and the governors of the territories. King Solomon made 200 large shields of hammered gold, 600 shekels, that's about 15 pounds, of gold went into each shield. He also made 300 small shields of hammered gold with 3 minas, and that's about 3¾ pounds of gold in each shield. The king put them in the palace of the forest of Lebanon. Then the king made a great throne covered with ivory and overlaid with fine gold. The throne had 6 steps, and its back had a rounded top. On both sides of the seat were armrests with a lion standing beside each of them. 12 lions stood on the 6 steps, one at either end of each step. Nothing like it had ever been made for any other kingdom. This is making me want to see Coming to America again. I want to see how they're living in their opulence in Zamunda. All King Solomon's goblets were gold, and all the household articles in the palace of the forest of Lebanon were pure gold. Nothing was made of silver because silver was considered of little value in Solomon's days. The king had a fleet of trading ships at sea, along with the ships of Hiram. Once every 3 years, it returned, carrying gold, silver, and ivory, and apes and baboons. Okay. King Solomon was greater in riches and wisdom than all the other kings of the earth. The whole world sought audience with Solomon to hear the wisdom God had put in his heart. Year after year, everyone who came brought a gift: articles of silver and gold, robes, weapons and spices, and horses and mules. Solomon accumulated chariots and horses. He had 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horses, which he kept in the chariot cities and also with him in Jerusalem. The king made silver as common in Jerusalem as stones, and cedar as plentiful as sycamore fig trees in the foothills. Solomon's horses were imported from Egypt and from Kue. It says probably Cilicia. The royal merchants purchased them from Kue at the current price. They imported a chariot from Egypt for 600 shekels of silver and a horse for 150. They also exported them to all the kings of the Hittites and of the Arameans. So that was 1 Kings chapter 10. And it talks, as you saw, a lot about Solomon's splendor, and about the gifts that the Queen of Sheba, brought to him. But she left with also gifts as well. He gave her things out of his royal bounty, and also gave her all she desired and asked for. I don't know if she only desired and asked for wisdom, or if she also asked for things or possessions. I don't know, but it's interesting how people brought gifts to him to hear the wisdom. They were so grateful for the wisdom that he had and so in awe of it that they brought gifts. And that is normal. I mean, you think about going to someone's house for dinner, or, you take a gift, or, going to meet someone for the first time. In fact, I just moved to this beautiful new apartment, and my neighbor, who was the one who told me about the building, when she came up, she brought sugar and salt and bread, as is common in the Jewish custom. And it was just the sweetest thing. And then when she came up to visit me last week, I was able to give her a little gift. I had a little frog Christmas ornament. She collects frogs. So I was able to give that to her. And the act of giving somebody a gift, as a way of saying thank you. It's just interesting that is our custom, and I love it. I love buying gifts, actually. I love giving the perfect gift to people. Like, that's a thing for me. I love buying gifts. But it could have been anything. I mean, we could have It could have been a common custom if you wanted to say thank you to somebody, you kiss their elbow. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it just so happened that bringing gifts is a thing, but it's from, biblical times of, not only bowing, they talk about bowing or kissing somebody's hand or their feet or their ring, but also bringing them gifts. And so as we read this month in the Bible about um, the best gifts in the Bible, it was hard not to bring up some of the things that Solomon was gifted with. He wasn't just, they talk about how he was the richest and the wisest king. So the wisdom came from God, but the gifts came from people who came to experience the wisdom. So it's pretty awesome. Anyway, it's a short and sweet Bible study about the Queen of Sheba and Solomon. So it's First Kings chapter 10. I'll bring my sister on the screen and see if she has anything she wants to share. Hi, sister.
Hi, sister. You hear about God blessing Solomon with wisdom and then ultimately with riches, but I didn't really think about the fact that a lot of his riches came from people who were blessing him because of his wisdom. Um, I mean, the Queen of Sheba
Yeah.
alone, good grief, that was quite something. So,
Right.
I mean, how
Bringing
many
25 tons of gold with you. Like,
exactly? Which lets you know she probably started out richer than him, but you know.
right? Yeah. What do they say? A car is like 2 tons.
I think so.
So imagine somebody bringing you 12 cars worth of gold.
Of cars. Yeah. So anyway.
That's crazy.
hmm But
I
I
mean,
do,
but awesome.
right. But I love the tradition of gift giving. Um, and the fact that it doesn't have to be a lot. And Jesus taught us that the woman who had very little and brought what she had actually did more than people who have a lot and give a little. Um,
Mm-hmm.
give relatively what would be a lot for somebody who's not rich, but it's just not a lot for them. So yeah. Excuse me.
And how about those apes and baboons?
Tossed in there.
How random was that? Once every 3 years it returned, carrying gold, silver, and ivory, and apes and baboons.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. What do you do with those? Store them with your gold and silver. I don't know. Where are they? Anyway, it's a lot.
Anyway, yeah, it was interesting.
And I don't know that
Anyway,
mention zoos in the Bible, but clearly,
he
you know,
collected horses and apparently apes and baboons.
right. So there must have been something. I mean, the horses you could use, but the apes and baboons, there must have been something akin to a zoo.
Yeah, yeah, I would assume. I mean, they don't mention at all what, how they were used. So it's just interesting that they're just thrown in there.
Mhm. Yep.
So anyway, thank you everybody for tuning in to our Bible study about gifts. I hope you're thinking about gifts to give um, this holiday season, even if it's just something little. I remember Christmas before last. I didn't have time to shop. We were in the middle of the pandemic and I got invited over to my girlfriend's house. And so I literally just like looked around and was able to gift puzzles and games and books and things that just so happened to be in my house. And it ended up being a really, nice blessing to my sweet Lupe and her family. So um, she's such a love. She's such a love. So anyway, um, think about what you'd like to give this year, not just get. Who's blessed you the most in their wisdom? Give them a little something. Anyway, see you next week. It'll be after Christmas. So Merry Christmas, everybody. Merry Christmas. I'll see you on the 28th.